Special thanks to these companies for being long-term partners of this channel.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach. Here we talk about overlanding and tech, and today I'm really excited about this video because I've been kind of wanting to get one of these for a while. They're not a super inexpensive mod, and honestly, anyone who owns a 4Runner or most of these vehicles that are too slow for their own good can probably really benefit from one of these. So if you've heard of pedal controllers or throttle controllers before, you've probably heard of the Pedal Commander, which is one of the popular ones in the industry, but Throttle Grenade is one of the newer ones that's, I think, kind of taking the industry from a different angle, and I really think it's interesting, you know, applicable to off-road and something you should definitely consider. So stick around for the whole video so you can kind of see the process from start to finish. We're gonna do an unboxing, then I'm gonna kind of talk about how to install it, and then we'll do sort of a drive, and I'll tell you my thoughts on how I think it changes the way the vehicle drives, that sort of thing. So if you like content like this, consider subscribing to the channel because it definitely helps me out, helps the channel grow, and helps me be able to make more videos like this. And like the video if it brought you any sort of value or it helps you install your own, etc., because that also helps the channel to grow. So you may be wondering, well, what is a pedal controller or throttle controller, or what's this throttle grenade? What does that even mean? Basically what this device does is it plugs in series with your current gas pedal, and it regulates the electrical feedback from your gas pedal to your computer of your vehicle. So when you give your gas, you know, throttle, it's not analog anymore. It actually sends just an electrical signal to your car, and your car regulates the throttle then. Whereas, you know, in the past with older vehicles, sometimes that would be like a cable connection straight to some mechanism that would increase your throttle. And so what this does is this kind of bypasses the stock setup for your throttle based on when you press your pedal, and you can kind of reprogram that with this like little interface that you stick onto your dash. So that's what they are. They're pretty popular, and honestly, I think you're gonna, you know, consider getting one after this video because it was a game changer for me. I was on the fence about getting one, and after trying this out, I definitely would not go back to how I drove before I had this throttle controller. So thanks for supporting the channel, it means a lot to me. Let's jump into unboxing this and check out this throttle grenade. So just to do a little unboxing here, they ship it to you in an unmarked black envelope. You know, that's to kind of go along with the whole theme. No, I'm just kidding. They actually send it in just normal packing. This is just inside. I think it's to help protect it. And so inside we've got a air freshener that has like a grenade on it for throttle grenade, and it's black ice scent. So I can guarantee this is going to be one of the best smelling mods you ever order. So we've got this air freshener, which is kind of a sweet little addition. And then inside the box, so we've got some sort of Apple vibes going on here, but there is the throttle grenade. The front is kind of a gloss, so you can't really see actually much of the writing on it. But let's get this pulled out of here. It's quite small. If you've seen my unboxing video, this is my knife compared to the size of this. So definitely pretty small. For some of you out there with a 4Runner, here's a 4Runner key. So really a small little controller, but it's kind of nice because now it won't take up too much space on your dash or anything. So when we open up the box, oh wow, they got a handwritten note here. That's awesome. And throttle grenade sticker. We've got the little controller itself. So if we pop this out, looks like it's got some adhesive backing on it. And yeah, it's really small. Wow, that's crazy. And then we've got our little module here. It looks like the same as basically an iPhone. That's crazy. I didn't know that like companies ever did that. This may be compatible with other iPhone cables, but right here, what you basically are going to do is you're going to disconnect the wire that goes to your current pedal. And I think you just add this in series, and then you run this wire up to your throttle grenade, and then you know, put this, just stick it where you want to on your dash. And it looks like they include one little zip tie here. So there's not a whole lot going on in the package because there's really not a whole lot here. And here's a little user manual. So installation is very simple as it says, but I just want to make sure I do this correctly. So yeah, that's everything that comes in the box. I don't want to overdo this, and let's just jump out to the vehicle and get this installed, and then we'll kind of go for a drive and see what we think about it.
All right, so like I said, you're gonna find your pedal and then just follow it up. So for the 4Runner, the clip is right on top of the pedal. So we're just gonna unclip that, add the throttle grenade in series, and then route the wire to the actual controller, stick that on the dash somewhere. So,
okay, so my plan is to stick this right here, or maybe even a little higher, and I ran the wire out of this plastic right around the steering wheel. That's what a lot of people do for all the other pedal controllers. But the problem I'm having is this backing, I don't think is sticky enough for this plastic, either because of its texture or there's maybe a lot of dust. I'm not sure, but I ruined the stuff that comes on it. And I'm gonna get some like really heavy duty Velcro backing so that it never comes off.
but I routed all the cables. It's not very enjoyable to do this sort of stuff because, you know, if you're tall like me, it's really hard to fit under the wheel well area. But I've got the cables routed and zip tied up above. Make sure it clears everything. Also, these white pipes or silver pipes can get really hot, so just be careful. And yeah, install otherwise is very easy. You just plug it in right there and zip tie everything out of the way. All right, so here's the controller. It's gonna be a little hard to view just because of the refresh rate of the video compared to the screen. But you basically have a mode button here where you can go between them. There's explode, Intel, crawl, stock, sand, mud, off-road plus, and explode, and now you're back. So 6 different modes. So and then each of these buttons allow you to adjust your sensitivity that you want. So the left is negative, the right is positive, and then you can change each one, you can just adjust. It looks like ones with a number you can adjust, and then the others not the case. So I guess this has a crawl mode, which that could be helpful if your vehicle doesn't come with the like Toyota crawl control. So just to better explain some of these modes, I want to just touch on them. So explode is supposed to be like a performance mode or your best explosive acceleration. Intel is a mode that's supposed to like record how you drive and what sort of throttle you like, and then create a control that's relative to your driving style. So you can do that. That's why there's no sort of number here. You just turn on Intel and then it does its thing. Crawl, this is for like a crawl control simulation. And then stock, this is if you just want to run your normal stock pedal and not have this device do anything. And then there's sand and mud, and this is to help with different sandy or muddy conditions where you would maybe need to use like very minimal throttle. I'm kind of curious to know how this is really much different than your crawl control, but maybe it helps with, I don't know, setting speed. I'm not quite sure though. And then after sand, this is just off-road plus. This is, I think, supposed to try and help with like low band torque based on using your throttle. I'm not quite sure exactly how this works, but I think it's really interesting that this one has different off-road modes and not just your typical performance, eco, and stock or something like that. So the last thing I will mention is if you're wondering what that AT stands for, that means it's an automatic transmission mode. If you hold down the far right button, you can toggle it between automatic transmission and manual transmission. Let's go back to explode and let's try this out on the road. Whoa, what the heck? Feels like a completely different vehicle. I'm gonna hold on to the camera and hopefully keep it stabilized here, and I'm gonna give it some gas and let's see how it does. Wow. Okay, so that's interesting. So nine is almost like too much because it's like constantly almost wanting to upshift. It's getting so much throttle. So I'm gonna go to explode. Let's turn this down to like 4 and just see how it feels.
It's interesting because it just doesn't really downshift much. I'm also just not really used to like how it rides, because you get very acclimated to how your vehicle, you know, performs and drives, and so you naturally have a muscle memory of like how much pedal to actually do, you know, and how hard to press your brake and gas and all that stuff. So this is really interesting. You kind of have to like relearn how to drive your vehicle smooth. It's kind of like, you know, a rental car, where if the rental car drives completely different from your personal vehicle, how it's kind of odd, and you have to kind of get used to it, or else you make everyone riding in the vehicle feel kind of sick. It's still much more responsive than the typical, you know, changing lanes that you would try and do with a 4Runner, where you get this incredible lag because you press the pedal down, you wait like a second or two, and then it's like woo, and it kind of pulls you back in your seat, and then you can finally speed up a bit. That doesn't happen at all here. If anything, it's just like all of a sudden you floor it, and then it just redlines. Not actually redlines, but like when you give it gas, it all of a sudden goes from like 2,000 drop shift up to like 4,000, and then goes. And so I'm just gonna have to learn how to run my pedal a little more smooth, and then hopefully that'll help me with driving smoother and kind of tapping into the ability of this controller.
So those are my initial impressions. Honestly, I was blown away by this, and starting with the Explode at level 9 was probably the most extreme setup I could have done, where basically if you tap the throttle, it you know, almost redlines. But I actually, once I sort of toned it back a little bit, I started driving with the Off-Road Plus mode, and that worked really well. I actually liked that setting. The 4Runner was incredibly responsive, and it wasn't ever like too jumpy to where it was sort of uncomfortable to drive. So if you are trying to, you know, kind of decide on a setting yourself, I really like that one. However, I did notice that my MPGs was about down 1.5 miles per gallon, which, like most of you out there are gonna say, well, you don't drive a 4Runner for good gas mileage, and I get that, but you know, if I'm just driving around town and I'm driving incredibly aggressively, it was probably not worth the loss in, say, you know, the loss in the price of gas there. So that's probably not worth spending that extra money on gas. But to each their own, maybe it is for you. So I kind of was trying to figure out if there was a way to get a little bit better gas mileage, but also have that better driving experience. And I found that the Intel actually worked really well. It kind of helps to learn your driving style and create a balance between the original Throttle, where you're probably gonna get the maximum gas mileage, and then sort of adding some peppiness into the Throttle where it would help you. And so I found it to be kind of a nice balance. And when I did that, I really only lost anywhere between 0.1 to 0.3 miles per gallon. So it was much more manageable, and definitely a great price to pay for the improvement in driving performance. Especially when you're driving in, you know, town, where I live in a bigger city, and it's nice to have kind of more of a get up and go when you're trying to change lanes or you're driving in traffic. You know, people just won't wait around for you to change lanes. So in conclusion, I actually really liked this. I thought it was a fantastic mod. They're not incredibly expensive. They're gonna be really great even for those of you out there who have a 3-inch lift and 33-inch tires, but you're not gonna spend the money on a re-gear. I think it helps to kind of fill in that void where you maybe lost a little bit of power due to dropped RPMs. I also really think that these are gonna be helpful for even those everyday drivers that hardly change their 4Runner at all. Just the fact that it improves the acceleration response, I think, is really nice. And for the price you pay compared to a lot of other modifications, the day-to-day value that you get out of this is so great that I think it's almost a no-brainer. I like the, I heard this motto kind of recently, but it was basically saying, like, you know, buying mods that you consistently get value or benefit from are probably some of the first mods that you should purchase. And I really like that, because, you know, some things that you purchase that are really expensive that maybe you don't use as often may not be some of the first mods you should buy. Now, everyone obviously is free to do what you want, but for example, if you go and buy a couple mods that you maybe use only once or twice a year on a trip, you're not getting as much value out of those, no matter how much they cost, compared to a modification that you get, you know, value from every day. So, hearing people talk about buying like a new head unit because it really improves your enjoyment of the vehicle to and from work, or getting a throttle controller because it helps you in your commute to just have a better driving experience. Some of those things, while they're not the most beneficial off-road modifications, I think you really gain a ton of value from doing those. So that's another thing to just kind of think about when trying to decide if you want to pull the trigger on one of these throttle grenades. But you know, this isn't going to be some sort of huge game changer. It's not like a supercharger or something where it's dramatically changing the performance of your vehicle. But I do think that there is just this small performance improvement that kind of hacks into your vehicle's ability to already accelerate like this, but your car is just not set up to do so. So I think it's a really nice setup. I definitely wouldn't go back. I absolutely love this thing, and the off-road modes are very cool. I didn't have a chance to test those out, but I think they would be incredibly helpful for some of you out there that maybe don't have the Toyota crawl control or A-track or a rear diff or things like that nature. So definitely some added features there that you don't get on other pedal controllers, and I think those are of value. But even if it didn't have those, I still think that this would be a really awesome product to have. So I hope that was helpful. If you found any value from the video, like I said before, give it a like because it helps me out, it helps the channel grow. And thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me that you all support me, and I love making videos like this. So with continued support, it makes me want to make more videos. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.